Welcome into BamaNews. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We are already 8 weeks into the college football season. It is crazy how things have flown by. It's starting to feel a little more fall-like throughout the state, thank the Lord. So it's official. Football season is officially here. Now that the weather is right, Patrick, I feel like we can actually celebrate and enjoy this now moving forward.
Absolutely. Halloween lights, and we have pumpkin flavored everything at the house right now. I'm sure you guys are getting it too. So
yes, that's the way to be, guys. And if you haven't heard, Bama fans, it's Tennessee Hate Week. Tide preparing for the Volunteers. They will play at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Kickoff set for 6 o'clock on ESPN, a night game in Tuscaloosa. We're going to break all the things down, talk about Bama's big win against Mississippi State, a huge bounce back win. Really, guys, just balling out on both sides. To do that, we're going to bring in Joe Goodman, columnist over at AL.com. There he is in his plaid. Joe, happy fall. It looks like you're celebrating appropriately.
Yeah, I got the flannel on. Speaking of pumpkin, every Alabama fan knows exactly what pumpkin means when you're talking about Tennessee. That's a very big trigger word right there. Tennessee reminds everyone of the inside of a pumpkin, the disgusting vomit of a pumpkin.
There's no question Tide fans certainly feel that way, and I think that also Bama fans are happy that this game is being played in the friendly confines of Tuscaloosa after the complete mess that we saw over at Tennessee. Briefly, guys, let's just recap that situation. Poor Lane Kiffin. I like Lane Kiffin. I like what he brings to college football and to the SEC. Dude got hit with a golf ball, among other things. I mean, what a complete mess in Knoxville on Saturday, guys.
Did you see him catch the water bottle on the way out? He perfectly Odell Beckham did. Kind of dropped it.
Yeah, I don't know what that
was. He caught it and then faded it out, I mean, obviously a very terrible situation when the cheerleaders are running into the locker room, and I don't know, everybody gets hyped up, alcohol sales now at SEC games. I don't find it acceptable, things on the field, no matter what you're doing. I don't know how everybody kind of gets on the same wavelength, angry ineptitude of the Ole Miss team destroying Tennessee. Pretty bad situation. Try to roll them.
Goodman, I was sitting there thinking, okay, do they understand they could literally win this game? Almost did win the game. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Man, if anyone ever throws a beer at me, I will just say thank you and drink it. Okay? So let's yeah. Did you see the Purdue-Iowa game?
Not closely.
No.
Well, there was an upset. They play football in the Big Ten, apparently.
I saw that. I mean, hardly play football, but yeah.
And there was a big upset when the Purdue Boilermakers upset the Iowa Hawkeyes. But the highlight of the game was when someone gave the defensive lineman for Purdue a beer, and he completely just turned it up, face mask and all, on national television during the game.
Wow.
From now on, for the rest of my life, and I don't know a lot about Purdue. I know it's a good school. A lot of engineers come out of there. But whenever I think of Purdue now, I'm just going to think about that dude crushing that beer during a game. And Tennessee, whenever I think of Tennessee, I'm just going to think of them pelting that field against Ole Miss. I mean, how could you ever forget that? It's like, one of the classic, oh, God, what is happening right now moments in SEC history.
No question. The Volunteers.
Yeah, I will say it's. We can go on with Alabama. I will say it's bad they threw it, but why did the end zone on the last play? If you're gonna go for it, But that didn't happen.
You're bringing your second string quarterback.
Don't worry about Tennessee.
Before, but anyways, moving forward, that is going to play a role. Quarterback situation when it comes to the Volunteers this week. Hooker is day to day, according to Heupel. This week, I would expect him to play if things aren't too serious. But let's talk quickly about Bryce Young and his performance last week against Mississippi State. And really not just Bryce Young, but credit to really everybody on the offensive side. It felt like a complete team effort offensively. The Tide really getting it done on the ground, in the air. I really felt like there was not a lot of complaints, guys, when we saw what happened in Starkville last week.
You want me to go? I'll go. I was there. I was in the press box. I was hearing the cowbell. I wear the headphones, in the press box there. It's open air. It's one of the only open air 50-yard line press box left in the SEC. So the trips to Starkville are always nice. It's them and the Gators, and the cowbell never disappoints. They even ring the things when their team is down 35 points in the second half, which I gotta just give them a lot of credit for their perseverance, in fandom. But the defense came into that game wanting to prove a point, and the point was immediately made. When Jordan Battle picked off poor Will Rogers. I felt so sorry for that kid, and returned it, 40 yards, and then crushed Will Rogers into the grass. Made him turf all day long, all night long. He was probably hearing cowbells in his sleep after that game. And, say what you want about Bryce Young. Great. 4 TDs. We love him. He's underhyped, undervalued, I think, by Alabama fans for whatever reason at this point. But the defense is what everyone wanted to see show up against Mississippi State. The defense showed up, and 7 sacks, 3 interceptions. They could only kick field goals, and that was the story of the game.
Yeah, let's, Goodman, obviously you got a firsthand look at this. We lost Patrick. We'll wait for him to return. But Will Anderson was pretty unbelievable throughout this game. I mean, this guy has been impressive really all season, but to see what he did in Starkville, I really felt like he kind of put this team on his back, so to speak. And we heard the week before about his disappointment when it comes to maybe message in the locker room not getting across to some of his teammates. When it comes to the leadership aspect that Will Anderson brings to this team, how impressed have you been?
He's been doing it since his freshman year, okay, in like spring practice.
Yeah.
You ask any of last year, okay, you ask any of those defenders from last year's team, that are already gone, and they told him, like, when Will Anderson showed up for spring practice, at the beginning, it was clear that he was different. Okay, he was immediately the best player on defense, and this year has just been an exclamation point to that. He's arguably the best player in college football, and he's only a sophomore. So when you have a kid like that who works so hard, those are the kids that you build a team around, because their attitude and the way that they work is infectious for everyone else. So Will Anderson is that guy for this Alabama team, and you can't say enough good things about him. Is he going to be Derek Thomas? Like, who knows? Hopefully, but for the purposes of crushing Georgia's quarterbacks, I guess if we're just going to get down to it, okay, he's the guy that you want.
Yeah, no question. Joe, it was no secret that this was a huge challenge. Patrick is back with us. It was no secret that this game, guys, was going to be not necessarily a challenge, but Bama needed to make a statement. Nick Saban talked about everything still being in front of this team after that loss to Texas A&M, and it seemed like these guys really responded in a big way. I mean, we're not at practice every day. We have to imagine the preparation was on point. You come in, you keep Mississippi State out of the end zone, hold them to 3 field goals. When it comes to a bounce back, a rebound game, how important was this to deliver a message kind of in the SEC and throughout the country, like, hey, we fell off for a second, but we're not gone?
Yeah, and I joked around about it in my column, kind of tongue-in-cheek, saying Alabama's finally back, after the lean times. But no, yeah, Georgia's great, but let's not forget, who the title is going to go through. It's going to be Alabama, and I don't care how good Georgia is. Alabama still holds a mental edge against them, and until Georgia actually beats them in the second half of a football game, then they can't really say anything at all. So Alabama asserted itself when it needed to, and that was a great just beat down of Mississippi State to kind of get the team back on track and reassert that dominance that you expect from Alabama.
Sure. Patrick, you're back with us. Hi. We can't hear you. Patrick, we can't hear anything that you're saying. So until we get you back completely, we'll bring you back in. But
can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Hello.
Hard time today, people. Look, it was a super entertaining game for a 40-point win. I will say that. But at the same time, this is still Mississippi State. This is a Mississippi State team that Alabama has dominated for going on 2 decades. I think they did respond, but the problem with Alabama is their schedule is not enticing. I know that Saban had to show respect to Tennessee yesterday. He's going to show respect to all of these SEC athletes, but you have New Mexico State, a bad LSU team, kind of a reeling Arkansas team. I hope that Alabama is able to really put the pieces together before they have to face a Georgia in the SEC championship. I'm worried that lull is gonna hurt them, while Georgia is facing a pretty meaty schedule right now. That's my only problem. I wouldn't
necessarily say that. I mean, Tennessee here and there, whatever. Arkansas has shown some really impressive moments despite the loss to Auburn, and then don't forget the Iron Bowl. So, but I think that this is common hat. This is not something that is that's old, like Bama's not used to. And I think that's why Saban always harps on guys getting complacent or guys not getting up for games, because he knows, that if you're playing more of a mediocre schedule, I mean, you can only play who you can play. I mean, it's the SEC West. You got to play the schedule. You can't help what these other teams look like. It's just part of it. But it's important for Nick Saban to get these guys up. He knows that. I mean, he's been doing it for as long as he has. I mean, that's why we kind of see him harp on little things as often as he does, because they're important right now in the season when it comes to what things look like in December.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Auburn seems like the only game that you're going to be like, this might be a tough one. And you know what? This is a different team compared to those. You say that Bama's been here, but remember, we got a lot of new starters on a team that had to play in empty stadiums last year with a completely different skill players on offense for the most part. So I just worry that that's going to lull them to sleep, like I say. So,
well, hopefully the Texas A&M game was enough of a wake-up call to last the rest of the season. I mean, I would think that would resonate for the rest of the year. And Auburn is not going to be any kind of walkover. I don't care how terrible that Auburn is. Not that they're terrible this year. They're not. They're obviously in second place in the SEC standings for a reason. But, anytime you go into Jordan-Hare Stadium for an Iron Bowl, weird stuff happens. And, that's the case every single time. So, that's going to be a huge game that Alabama's going to have to come prepared to win and not just hit the cruise control button. I mean, I don't think this Alabama team's good enough to do that in any game this year. I mean, Zach Calzada already beat them at Texas A&M. So, if they let off the gas at any point, it could potentially turn into another major upset. They were overhyped. I mean, I wrote this in the preseason. They were overhyped coming into this year at number 1, and it's just kind of played itself out that way. How could you not be? You lost all those coaches. You lost all those players. It's just natural attrition that is going to happen with most every single team, Alabama included.
I'll add one more thing about the Mississippi State win for Bama fans to be kind of careful about is he dropped back, or he threw 55 times. So your ability to have opportunities for sacks and your ability to have opportunities for interceptions, which they got 3, went up dramatically because that offense gives you that opportunities. I don't think you're going to see that in a lot of other games. Mm-hmm. And while it might be good for your confidence and the momentum, that one part of the really did affect. He throws twice as much generally as any other team. So
looking forward, guys, to this Saturday. It's the 3rd Saturday in October. Tennessee comes to town. Bama fans will show up to the stadium, no doubt, with their cigars in hand, ready to light up sometime probably in the third quarter. We've seen it happen before, it hits 000s in the past. What is there to learn? What is the kind of the main focus point, Goodman, in your mind coming off this state game? going into the bye week specifically. What's important for this team to kind of dial in on going into that break?
It was really good that they lost, I think. Okay. I know that Alabama fans don't want to hear that perspective. But for me, it's better to lose a game and be able to still win the national championship, because losses make you that much better. And it shouldn't be counterintuitive, I guess, but I guess it is. But you fail, you get better. So you're going into a bye week. It's pretty simple to me. Alabama just needs to keep on focusing on what they did poorly in the Texas A&M game, and I'm sure that will be, how they go about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch Nick Saban, he had to give the respect yesterday. Yeah, they're a good offensive team. They're playing really good defense, and of course, he's going to do that. We talked about this with the Texas A&M game because we thought they were going to blow them out. I think you need to work on the things that you didn't do well at Mississippi State. Basically, what that is only the. State? I'm just saying. Well, what went wrong with Mississippi State? Excuse me.
I'm just wondering what it was that didn't go well in Starkville last week.
Whatever the team dictates that they didn't do well. I don't think you're going to look back at the Texas A&M game. What that is exactly, I don't know. They had 7 sacks. They had 3 interceptions, a pick 6. The offense I did like a lot. I just think that when we talked about the Texas A&M game and what the plan was, because they were supposed to roll them, it was different packages. It was getting some of the younger players, but that didn't even happen really at Mississippi State. So I'd say get your young players a little bit more work. That's something that I'd like to see Bama do this week.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing. Saban knows how important it is to get guys reps and how much that can pay off moving forward. Moving forward, beyond this Tennessee game, guys, we've talked a little bit about it, but they'll pick back up against LSU, New Mexico State, Arkansas, Auburn to kind of round out the season. Most of those games at home, 3 in a row. I swear Alabama has the most incredible home schedule in the world than any team in the country. But when you look at what is ahead for Alabama, it seems like, guys, everything – goal-wise that the Tide is looking for is right in front of them. And Bama is in control, so to speak, of their own destiny when it comes to getting to the SEC title game, to getting to the playoffs. But there is a kind of a not as big of a room for error. Margin of error is lessened because of that loss to A&M. Yeah,
I mean, first of all, can we say that's some real nice tailgating weather right there for the next 5 weeks, in Tuscaloosa. We just said it a second ago. Auburn is going to be the toughest schedule in the Iron Bowl. All these other ones, get healthy, get your schemes ready, get your reps. That's what the next 5 weeks are for Bama. I know that's a boring answer, but
no.
Listen, I do want to say, though, I'm not completely discounting either Tennessee or LSU, because Tennessee is clearly better this year than they have been, and they can score. They can score. They've proven that they can score points. Okay. Yeah. So, there is an element for me to see how Alabama's defense shows up against this Tennessee team after a dominating performance against Mississippi State, because that consistency is what affected them against Texas A&M, a lack of consistency. So, I mean, there is something there to watch. And as far as LSU, with Orgeron being a lame duck coach at this point, you could make the argument that there will be some sort of motivating factor for LSU to win one for the old Coach O, and
there's truth in that.
So they're not going to be. Anytime LSU plays Alabama, it's not going to be a walkover for Alabama. So
yeah, you're missing so many players on that LSU team, and they won one last week for him. That was what the Florida game was for LSU. So then you go into Bryant Denny. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. Actually, the Arkansas game is the one that I was thinking is going to have a little bit more bite, just because it's always a nice little rivalry, and I think Arkansas has had a bad few weeks, but they're still a really tough team, and I'd like to see what their defense can do to Bryce Young. So.
Patrick, if you will, pull those stats back up as we close things out.
We will.
talking about this Tennessee game. I mean, a lot of these numbers look the same. The
Yeah.
personnel in the field, not so much the same. The guys, just final thoughts going into kind of the third Saturday in October and what it is that Alabama needs to not necessarily prove, but it seems like the biggest thing that I would like to say is I think trying to stay injury-free going into the bye week. As long as you kind of escape this midway point, not having anything crazy happen, you're not always in control of that. But I would think that you get smart down the stretch. You don't really play guys late into the game if it's not necessary to get into that bye week and get healthy where you need to get healthy and show up into the second part of this season at 7-1, 4-1 in the conference moving forward.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll just after you, Joe.
I mean, I want to go back to that Arkansas game. I think I'm not sold on Arkansas, okay? Because after a long season, I don't know if they're going to have the depth. I mean, this is looking way ahead, but whatever. This is what we do in the state of Alabama.
Sure.
We'll see. We'll see Arkansas. I don't know.
I don't think they lose any of the games if we're going back to that. I'm just saying that one over LSU is a worry game.
Can we comment anything you got to say about the Tennessee game before we sign off?
I'll finish up on the Tennessee game. Look, throw the stats out the window on some of these games.
All over the place, like squirrels right now.
No. All the Alabama fans, you can comment right now. People talk about, this is only my take on living in Alabama for the past few years. People talk about the Iron Bowl. Everybody knows Alabama, Auburn hate. Like, this is the rivalry that still means a ton. People want to smoke those cigars. The players want to smoke those cigars. Remember Waddle in the ambulance last year? That is a big thing. And no matter what, Tennessee, the numbers are similar. I think you can throw the records out, and the Alabama players and fans definitely want to destroy Tennessee, and it's probably going to happen on Saturday.
No question. Goodman?
For Jeremy Pruitt.
I do miss Jeremy Pruitt over there at Tennessee. All right, guys. This has been a fun one. Look, I think that Anthony put a good one out there. I dislike Auburn. I hate Tennessee. That's
what I'm saying.
This rivalry. Because they low down. They dirty. Just kidding.
We put him on. Guys. People love him.
Well, we will go for a mixtape, huh?
That was back. All that hate stems from Phil Fulmer. Turning Alabama in.
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously reaches much farther than that, but like that is really, what set Tennessee and Alabama just against each other in this modern time. That whole controversy. Serving Philip Fulmer, that was just great. The subpoena papers at the SEC media days. Oh, hold on.
That's just another chapter. This goes back a long time.
I got a surprise. Hold on. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Oh, God. I literally, guys, I cannot be responsible or held accountable for anything that Goodman returns with. I can't see
I got a surprise, too. I got a surprise as well. So, Will Anderson, first Alabama defender since 1998.
Right here.
Oh, he's got the cigar.
Oh, wow. The party is underway at the Goodman household already, y'all.
Now, also,
hey, tell us about it.
I wrote a book.
I would like a signed copy, and I would also like to know what is in that book that Tide fans have to look forward to, Goodman.
Oh, so much. There is everything you want about the state of Alabama. Alabama football wrapped into this book, weaved inside and outside of the 2020 season. Look at this. So I turned in the manuscript for my book, and they were so happy about it. So I had a contract for a book, okay? And I said, I'm not going to write that book. I'm going to write the book that I want to write. So I bet hard on myself. And I turned it in, and they loved it so much that I said, I have a question. Can I have a map? Can I have a map in my book? And the editor was like, you want a map in your book? I said, yes. I want a map of Alabama. And they said, you mean like Middle Earth, but Alabama? I said, yes, that's exactly what I want. And so I got a map in my book.
Wow. So what is it in reference to?
That
Like,
says
what is
there will
that
be
for?
rum.
That's chapter 1. There will be rum.
So what is the tell me what the map is for. I need some information on this.
It is for persons, events, and places that all Alabamians will love and appreciate that are in this map. Everything is referenced in the book. Yeah.
Okay. And how can folks get a hold of that book, Ben?
You can buy it on Amazon, bookshop.org, or on number 9 at your local bookstore.
All right. Good stuff. You had it run.
Table contents.
Nice. I mean, you're a published author. You're big time, Joe. We need to get on your level.
Look at these titles. Grog Mutiny of the Unread, Chapter 2. There's such a great story about Mac Jones that people about Mac Jones has never been told, and people are just gonna. It is so hysterical. Like it's just so funny. It's so funny.
Guys,
Mac,
get your hands on this book. Amazon, all the things, Joe. I mean, I'm sure if you have a link to it there on your social media pages as well, Joe.
All you gotta do is go to WeWantBamaBook.com. It's got its own webpage.
There you go. There you go, guys. All right. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Week 8 of the college football season already. Alabama hosts Tennessee, 6 o'clock, Bryant-Denny Stadium. Saturday, if y'all are going out there, be safe. And
I'll be there in the press box.
Are you going to take your cigars?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I'm going to take them. I'm going to smoke them either way.
I'm sure you'll be able to smoke them because of the weather. All right, guys. Enjoyed it. We'll see y'all next week about this time to preview. Actually, we won't because it's the bye week. We'll see y'all in a couple weeks to preview LSU. So enjoy this one. We'll see you later.